Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Todd Fernandez with Climate Crisis Policy and the Earth Bill Network, and I'll be your host today. We're very excited to start today's meeting with the public news that Representative Adriano Espaillat will be introducing the Earth Bill very soon. So today we'll dig into the timing on that and all the action. And from now on, this will be the leading focus of our work together. But once filed, we'll be on a full court press to unite society and environmentalists in common cause in order to change what's politically possible today, to change the status quo. The Earth Bill's focus on electricity, cars, and food is intended to give the public a solution they can relate to. It's our monthly bills that pay these corporations to provide the basic necessities of life. It's our money funding the pollution. And it's thus our right and our duty to control our pollution policy as a society and as individuals working together. This paradigm shift is fundamental because for too long we've treated the corporations like something separate from society and the pollution like it was someone else's doing. In fact, corporations are just a legal construct set up by state law to enable people to work together to accomplish things we could not do alone. But corporations are man-made and they are operated by people and they are accountable to the people. We've also vilified, understandably, key corporations because they have taken control of our federal policy and government. And that remains true. But to change that and to create a positive future with our actions, I feel and believe it's time to focus on our collective existence and our mutual power to transform and evolve. The Earth Bill approaches this by creating a partnership where utilities, car manufacturers, and food producers will help lead the planning for the transition. The bill requires these entities to file a plan within 1 year of promulgation, detailing their path to 2030. And it puts the related departments of energy, transportation, environment, and agriculture in the role of helping to facilitate and support the transition. We didn't start out with this vision, but it just landed there, where the intention now is that of creating a societal-wide effort where we all take responsibility for the pollution and the transition. And hopefully this will create positive energy and momentum that will carry us further and faster to success. The core content of the bill, 100% by 2030 with mandates on these three sectors, is unchanged from the original draft. In our last meeting, we went over the bill in detail again and noted the changes. Most of those are new regulatory mandates in the agricultural arena to further animal rights and humane treatment there. We also expanded from electric vehicles to zero emission vehicles and added findings that set the tone for the bill. There's some noise outside now, so hopefully you can hear me. With regard to the organizing strategy, the Earth Bill is designed to unite activists and groups across these three areas because alone we do not have the power it will require to one day pass such legislation. A bill that structurally reclaims the role of the people in governing corporate practices is not going to be an easy lift, to state the obvious. It will be seen as what it is by corporations. And it is our job to convince the people that this is vital for the survival of the human species and all life on Earth. It's only because the planet is at stake that this kind of legislation is even remotely viable, albeit still an impossible dream. But it will take all of the movements uniting, all of the groups, and many, many individuals coming together to make a singular collective demand in order to succeed. This is the hard part, unity. We'll be talking about this constantly from now on because it's not just a nice idea, it is a strategic imperative. And fortunately, it's something that's within our ability to control. It's entirely within our own power. But from my first introduction to the environmental movement and my awareness of life generally, it is very clear that we are splintered like the wind and eager to debate every last policy concept like individual think tanks to the point of complete impasse and inertia. So as I see it, the ability of humanity to save itself from pollution destruction is directly tied to our ability to work together and to transcend our individualism and egos. This makes it very daunting, as these are ingrained parts of the consumer capitalism mentality and the so-called American way that has polluted more than any other on the planet. The good news is we finally made it very simple. Electricity, cars, and food, and we have a great name, the Earth Bill. At Earth Day in New York City, our team felt the crowd's reaction, and it was wonderful. People are eager and ready for a solution to this crisis, and they are desperate for a call to action based in science as opposed to politics. And the Earth Bill and our network is now providing a vision and a plan for action that offers hope in the darkness. So bravo and thank you to all of you who have already done so much to support this effort. Of course, we should have more than one plan to save Earth. As an aside, I always think of these movies where they've got one plan and a crew of 3 people trying to save the planet. There should be, I always think, why aren't there more plans and more people? So today we'll talk about the push for $550 billion via the ongoing battle for Build Back Better funding in Congress. And we'll start the process of reviewing and adding to the Off Fossil Fuels Act. We'll also keep active with our climate bill package, which is just really another path to uniting higher level groups and activists through stitching together those various causes. And for that, we'll touch on a big oceans bill and another bill on banning banks from supporting fossil fuel projects. The other main topic we'll cover today is a focus on Republican districts. Republican districts are being devastated by storms and fires, and that should make them ripe for organizing. Strategically, we have a 2-party system, and sadly, we have a minority veto in the Senate embraced by both parties. So there is no way around this as I see it. The only path is to go down the middle through the resistance. And that will be very tough, obviously, but fun and interesting for sure. So today we spring into action. And from now on, it's mostly mechanical. Once you have the demand in a bill, sort of off to the races. So we'll organize, promote, and recruit support from people, elected officials, federal candidates, and groups. And that's it, really. One by one, we'll go after the votes in each congressional district. From now on, if I haven't already, I'm going to sound like a broken record for the next few years. But we'll try to keep it fun and interesting, and we'll do our best. And hopefully others will pick up the cause and run with it as well. Again, the Earth Bill is not just a bill. It's a strategy for a movement. And that means it belongs to the people, and only the people can make it happen. But we're the catalyst and initiators. And hopefully our inspiration and our sincerity will resonate and bloom like the millions of leaves and flowers popping out everywhere around us today. Thank you again for being here, and welcome to the next great historic challenge, and welcome to the Earth Bill Network. With that, let's get started. I'll go till about 12:20, and then Rania will get us into the off-act reboot, and then we'll continue with other items. As you saw from the email, we have on the agenda the Earth Bill and all that, Earth Bill Publicity, the off-act, Build Back Better, the climate bill package, and then the Republican focus. We hope to be out of here by 1 o'clock, but it will stay longer if necessary. And at the end, I'm always happy to hang out and talk with folks and hear what your concerns are and ideas. And particularly if you're new to the group and you want to just say hello and get to know us better, please hang on after the call and we'll have some basically open time to chat. Well, I'm just now coming back to the screen so I can see everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm going to put you all in gallery view so I can see everybody. Oh, yay. Hello. Usually on other people's calls, I'm busy seeing who's there and I don't get to do that here. So, okay, I'm going to jump into the agenda. Now, a lot of this is in the email that you went out, but let's start with the updates on where things stand. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm breathing lighter. I feel like the path toward getting this bill final in its language and getting it filed is far along. And as you all know, probably from the emails, Representative Espaillat on Earth Day sent out a press release announcing his intention to file the bill. You probably already have it. That was great to see. That sort of made it firmer, and at the same time, the day before, I received the latest draft from the Legislative Council to review, and I've gone over all that, and I can, after a few misunderstandings, I think we're very much aligned, and everything is on path to be consistent with what we've already had in the Earth Bill all along. So as I mentioned in the opening, all the main mandates will still be there. Basically, it's the same. They just had questions about wording and this kind of thing. It's a lot of questions, mind you. So I feel like we're going to be landing on right where we started in terms of content. And there were a few moments when that wasn't so certain. So I've had a few minor heart attacks. I shouldn't joke about that, having almost had one, but you know what I mean. And so I'm feeling relieved and exhaling that we are in the final stretch of this. And within the next few weeks, I guess, we'll have the bill filed. I'll just show you real quick. Here's our current draft on the website. You can still access the latest version as we had it, and or as it was finalized with their team before it went to Legislative Council. And then here is, oh, I'm not screen sharing. Sorry, I meant to screen share. So I'll step back a little bit. From our website, you can go down and get the bill right here, draft bill and definitions, and that'll take you to this document. And this is the latest sort of easy to read version. And now that it's gone to Legislative Council, it's starting to look more and more official, but at the same time, much harder to read as an individual in a way. And so you'll see here, there are questions they have about different things, and I've been responding, and this is the process that we're in now. So let's see, I think I'm going to stop sharing that and go back to my notes about what we're talking about. So as you know, Representative Espaillat is my congressperson from New York 13. We had a full court press in New York 13 adopted district for a long time, well over a year. And just a big shout out to all of those folks who worked so hard on this. Lots of faith leaders and just lots of wonderful people got involved in that. And I won't mention names now, but when we get to the filing announcement day, I'll go into more detail about all the folks that helped make that happen and built that relationship. He's the first Dominican American elected to Congress. As I understand it, he was undocumented at some point and became documented, like my own husband. So maybe I'll run my husband for office one day. Kidding. And he is on the Appropriations Committee in the House, and he's a whip for both the Democratic caucus and the Progressive caucus. I didn't know any of that actually until just recently when I went to his bio and said, that's because somebody asked me, who is this guy? I'm like, well, let me go find out. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter to us who they are because they're our representatives and that's all that matters. But we happen to, I think, landed on a great one. The news piece that came out about it was clearly with the focus on the Caribbean and highlighting the flooding that's happening in the Dominican Republic right now. So I feel like we have a visceral, deep connection to this cause and to our effort, and they really know what this is all about and they get it. And the team has been remarkable. Francesca and Monica, they've just been amazing to work with. So that's our lead sponsor. I went over the language edit process already. The timing is soon, I guess, is as much as we know. Once that is finalized, a dear colleague letter will go out from Representative Espaillat's office to his colleagues, the other representatives, inviting initial co-sponsors, and they will send us that they call it dear colleague letter now because it's electronic. And I'll forward that to all of our lists, and then you can then forward that to your contacts at your representative's office, and that'll make your ask seem very official, and it should help smooth the way in many offices. And once we have that list, that'll be a big chunk done. and then we'll see who remains. And then that's where we get started, one by one, going down that path. Or not necessarily one by one, we're going to try to tackle them en masse. Where things stand now is that we're eager to get groups to endorse the upcoming bill. Can't do this at the same time. So in all the materials that we've sent out, you've seen that Representative Espaillat has his own form. And so that's the official form. And about 50 organizations have signed up, including some very near dear to my heart, like the Granny Peace Brigade recently and Drawdown NYC. Oh, that reminds me to talk to you about what I talked to Drawdown about. Oh, and one other thing. So that's wonderful. And the most beautiful thing about that list is these are the grassroots groups in these communities. And so, we're on a lot of letter lists, sign-on letters that have all these major organizations, but they don't have grassroots activists in district who know everybody. That's who you all are. And that really is the reason we organize in the grassroots, is because you are the closest people to these representatives and to your community who can actually get this kind of support that we're looking for. So we don't have a huge list, but we have a great list, is how I would look at it. And it's growing. Our own network list has several dozen more groups. So hopefully they're all going through the process of signing Representative Espaillat's form, because that's the official one. So on that, we're asking everybody to ask your groups to endorse the Earth Bill. And I know we're in this gray zone now that we don't have final language, and that's a little bit tricky, but I'm willing to say that on my own personal credibility that it's substantially similar. So as soon as we have a final draft, I will get that out to everyone and you can review it again and make sure you're still happy with it. And if you then have any reservations or any reasons to pull your endorsement, that we can work that out, no problem. So please work through all the groups that you're connected to, and feel free to send, the press release announcement email that I sent out. I think that's a good tool to use. It makes it look official. And I'm of two minds. I don't know how you can ask people to sign on for a bill that's not final as a lawyer, but evidently this is done a little bit. So with the main ideas being, the 100% in those three areas. So it's a chicken and egg thing here, I understand, but if you could still work on that, that would be great. I'm not going to put all the links in here in the chat today, but I'm going to put one link. This is new groups suggestions. If you have any ideas for groups that we should try to get to sign on, please input them into this form. Oh, and it's 12:20. So I'm going to circle back on all of this, and then we'll pick up on the co-sponsor outreach and the local leader outreach, which is I'll walk us through when we get, but for now, we're going to have to stop for a little minute on the Earth Bill, because I want to invite Rania, Batrice to come forward and to talk a little bit about the OFF Act. So, again, I mentioned we can't just have one plan. The Earth Bill is really for the public and hopefully for the movement. There's still work to be done to unite, sort of the institutions that are running various coalitions and around legislative agendas, because most of them are not really working on legislative agendas. They're working on executive branch action. They're working on the budgetary stuff as part of the administration's push. But there's not really, other than our climate bill package in adopted district, I'm thinking before I say this, other than plastics, which has the most amazing coalition there is, there's not really a coalition of environmental groups that I'm aware of working on federal legislation collectively. It feels weird to say that because it sounds wrong, but I think it's right. So the need for a bill, a federal bill that we create together, that goes into several more areas in greater detail, I think is still an important strategic goal and important to do. So with that, we're starting a process. Rania's going to tell you about it. I'm going to be a little bit behind Rania in this one, and she's going to take lead. But the basic idea is that we're going to go through rounds of consultation, and we're starting with a round of consultation with the grassroots to add and augment and see what's missing from the original OFF Act. And with that, welcome, Rania. Thank you so much for keeping me on task about this project. And I'm so glad that it's something you feel passionate enough to spend your time on. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I've been on with y'all before. It's been a little while. So for some of you, I'll be repeating myself just a little bit, but I just want to make sure everybody has a little bit of context of kind of the origin of the OFF Act and all of those kinds of things. So I helped draft the first version of the OFF Act alongside a lot of really incredible people who also helped us get this done. But the thing that, and Todd and I were just talking about this, it was done very, very, very quickly. And so we have sort of another chance now to really make it even better. At the time, it really was the most aggressive and progressive climate bill in Congress. It was, and as I mentioned last time to any of you who were on the last time I was on with y'all, it was a very, very collaborative effort, which is so exciting. So very, very exciting to get to collaborate with incredible groups on the ground and the grassroots to make it what it was in such a short time. We want to make it, like I said, even better. We have an opportunity and we have some time now to do so. So I'm just going to drop this link in the chat.
I put the document in there already, Rania.
Well, I'm actually gonna, I just went through all of the documents again, and I think one of the ones I have too is the original, and then it has some ideas for updates underneath it. So I'm gonna drop this link in there. Everybody has commenting permissions, just so we can keep it all straight on our end. Everyone can comment, and if there are things missing, like topics, issue areas that are missing that you want to add, please make a note in there, because we do want this to be collaborative again. And all of us have different experiences and expertise and things like that. So this is not again, we want this to be collaborative. We want this to be as strong as possible. And the way that we do that is not by siloing ourselves off and trying to do it all ourselves, because that will only have those perspectives that we have. So just drop that in the chat, and would love any and all of your thoughts and feedback, additions, flags. If you see something that feels problematic for some reason, please don't hesitate to point that out too. We're all in this together and trying to make this as good as possible. And that means we have to, understand that none of us are perfect. So there's going to be feedback on some of these things. So I really just appreciate all of you, everything that you've done and continue to do. And we're hoping, as far as timeline goes, we're hoping to give ourselves some leeway this year and introduce it early in the next session. So part of that will be making sure we have the right champion carrying sponsor in the House, and ensuring that we're able to sort of help build a strong coalition around that to gain as many co-sponsors as possible. So if anyone has thoughts on that too, feel free to send me an email. My email is at the top of that document. There's just kind of a section up there. It says lead Rania, and it has my email address in there. Feel free to send over any recommendations you have on carrying sponsors or anything else. If you want to connect directly to chat through anything, I'm here. And really hoping that we're able to, like I said, strengthen this and bring it to the forefront of conversation, because there are definitely some things in there that haven't been discussed yet. And I was actually on a meeting with Sunrise yesterday. They're going to be helping out with this as well, and providing feedback as well, and organizing and all of those kinds of things too. So and then when we came out of the gate with this legislation in 2018, I think that's right, 18, yes. We had something like 400 organizations signed on in support. And so we're going to, of course, go back to all those organizations, and would love all of your organizations and yourselves to be on as well. Yeah, So, oh, somebody just asked me, apologies. Somebody just asked me for my, a little bit more about me. I'll do that real quick. I do have another call in 2 minutes, but my name is Rania Batrice. I've worked at the intersection of politics and policy and advocacy for 22 years. 22 years in March was my 22-year anniversary, and worked, have, part of my advocacy, of course, is climate and climate justice. And I believe deeply that everything that we're doing, sort of, I work on a lot of issues, but we can kind of draw a through line, and it's very intersectional with climate and climate justice. And so before I started working on this, I was Bernie Sanders' deputy campaign manager in 2016, and kind of jumped on board to put this together. The session after that cycle, this bill was not reintroduced, so there are no current co-sponsors. Just somebody, Lisa, had asked about that. So we're going to start all over. Basically, we're going to start with a new prime sponsor. We're going to start with new co-sponsors and all of that. So it's going to be, whoops, that's my alarm. It's going to be an exciting initiative and take some work, but I think we can do it. Yeah, anyway, so that's me. I do a lot of consulting work now. I have my own firm called Batrice and Associates, where most of my advocacy and policy work lives. I'm a partner in a political media firm called the Win Company. It's where most of my electoral work lives. There's some crossover. This is something I'll be doing pro bono, unless anybody has a rich aunt or something that wants to fund this work, or we come across some other funding. That's kind of where we're at right now. But I just think it's too important to let go. So very excited to be doing this with all of you. Excited to reconnect with Todd on this, who was, of course, on the ground level on the original OFACT, and as I know some of you were too. So I'm one of those bleeding hearts, and I just want to get us there again. So thanks so much, everybody, for letting me interrupt for a little bit.
You're not interrupting. Your reinforcement, and thank goodness you're here, Rania. Thank you so much. And we're going to be working on this, folks, going forward. It's going to be a more relaxed pace than other efforts. So, but we got time, and it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much, y'all. I do have to drop off, but thank you. Thank you. And again, email is in the doc. So if y'all need anything, please reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Bye-bye. And in the doc is also the 2017 version is linked, and a section by section analysis of the current bill, and I think some of the additional proposals. I haven't looked at that in a minute. So anyway, we'll be digging into this. So if you're one of those folks who've had your pet policy idea all these years, and you've been waiting for the moment to try to get it inserted in something, this is the time. We're not obviously looking for everything under the moon, so we're going to have to somehow or another pare it down if it gets beyond, if the scope starts to spread too much, but we'll work through the process going forward, and it's going to be a very consultative journey. Okay, I know we're always throwing a lot at you, but I think everyone's pretty much up to speed on a lot of things, so hopefully it's okay. So let me just see where we are. We left off about the group. Oh, co-sponsor outreach. And we were talking about group outreach when we ended. Let me just see if there's anything about the group outreach to do. No, other than just the fact that there are 2 forms. So please try to do both, the network one on our website, and then Espaillat's form, because I'm having quite a little fun trying to reconcile all of those these days. They're very different. All right, so then the next big piece is Operation Co-Sponsors. And I'm going to share my screen a little bit and go to this. On our website, under events, which maybe should say actions, but events, there are the very basic steps. And this is what everyone hopefully will be doing right now. You just click on this link to go find your, I'll open it up, why not? Let's just go through it. Right here, you type in your zip code. Here's mine. Find your rep by zip. and boom, he pops up. It couldn't be easier. If your zip straddles some districts, you might have to put your actual address in. Very simple. And then from there, you go to their website, which is down here. Click on this, takes you right to their website. And then you just dig around to about and contact. And there you are. You have an opening form to contact. And if you keep digging around here, you'll find phone numbers and addresses. The answer is to get the phone number from the DC office. Might sound a little basic, but I'm just walking us all through it. You find the phone number from the DC office, which is down here. And then you go back to the instructions, you call their office and say, hello, I'm calling about sponsorship for the Earth Bill, a new bill being filed. Let me update this a little bit. And I was wondering if you could please get the name of the legislative director, and if I could get the name of the legislative director and the climate policy person, so I can email more information. And the staff person should say to you, sure. They might vet you a little bit. They might give you a little resistance. They might not want to give you the legislative director name, so you might end up with the climate policy person's name. It'll depend on your relationship and how new you are to the staff, et cetera. But work it. It's just sending an email, so it shouldn't be a problem. We don't have a bill number yet, but hopefully as this starts to move along, we will have one. And then there are emails here. They're ready, but they'll be updated as soon as the bill's filed. Or even once we have the Dear Colleague letter, I'll update these a little bit. But if you click on it, it's all right there. You just just click on it, copy it like this, and copy it into your email. I'll review these emails. I haven't in a while just to make sure they're still current. And that's it. That's really it for the first initial ask. So that's where we're hoping you'll get prepared for, because even this could take a week just to get through to them and get the email. So if you can get all that done and make sure you have a person's email that you're ready to email and forward what's going to come from Representative Espaillat. And that should get you in the door. And that's really it on being prepared. So I think I should probably stop and ask if there are any questions about that.
This is Mary. Todd, does this mean that the Dear Colleague letter has not gone out even to Maloney and Schakowsky?
No, I sent them separate emails with the existing draft. No, it hasn't gone out to anyone, and it won't until after Legislative Council review and we're finished tweaking it all, and then everybody's happy. And Espaillat's office is overwhelmed with other things. But they're working on it, and so I'm not worried about it being slowed down in any way, but it is a process still. We'll get another edit back from them with all of our comments, and hopefully that will be very close to final. And then once that really gets final, then they send out the Dear Colleague letter, I assume with that draft bill attached. With that no longer draft, but that bill attached. Mary, go ahead. The other Mary. You're muted, Mary.
Hi, sorry. When we contact our representative's office here or in Washington, I mean, do you want this done by, say, in my group, District 12, adopted district? I mean, do you want all members of it to try to send these emails, or just representatives the way we had when we approached them in person or on Zoom?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I say if you have active adopted district teams, touch base with them first. But it doesn't really matter if all of you individually sent the request. That wouldn't be a terrible thing. Squeaky wheels get attention, and so I don't think it hurts to do it as a group and then also individually, or either or both.
Okay.
But if you have good group team and you want to work through that journey, that's fine too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Maloney should be an almost done deal because we've been in touch with their staff quite a bit. Selden.
Yeah, hi.
question, I'm going back to the group endorsements, if you don't mind. Just curious if you are also, I understand the value of the local grassroots groups, but are you also looking to get Sunrise, Sierra Club, any national groups? Are you looking, or is it too soon because you don't have the final draft? Just curious to hear your thoughts.
So we are, and it is too soon. So we had various conversations with Sierra Club already through various channels, including through chapters and et cetera. And he happened to show up at our booth on Ramon Cruz, the president, showed up on his bicycle at our booth at Earth Day. So we had a great chat there. And I noticed from MailChimp that he opened my most recent email. So we're working that. And if you're a member of Sierra Club, please let me know. I could show you. I've already, let's see if I have a list started. I'll just show you what I'm up to. Sierra Club, Earth Bill Sierra Club members. And here you all are. And not everybody listed Sierra Club when you signed up for the Earth Bill. But if you're a member of Sierra Club and you didn't, let me know. Please email me. And so we're going to start an internal conversation about it. But I've asked Ramon to help us set up a conversation with whomever at the staff level makes these decisions. And some of the thinking that I learned is that, you know, organizations think sequentially, the administration thinks sequentially, everyone thinks they can only do one thing at a time. And then they have to wait and see if that works, and then they'll start something else and see if that works, and then they'll start something else. And I said to him, I said, we don't have time for that. We need simultaneous strategies, short, medium, and long term, some that are within the administration's goals, and some that are scientifically based, hopefully, and some that are geared to build the movement unity. So I'm just now have the access to have that kind of strategic conversation to help us break free from this linear paradigm, which really is a long walk off a short pier, I think, at this point. I've mentioned it in all the coalition frameworks that we're in, but I was nervous about saying too much about it until it was a little more solid. And I keep telling them, I'm like, we're talking to our network about it, but we're not really spreading the word to those other coalitions until we're done with the bill. I mean, I was a lawyer a long time. You don't announce stuff until, so it's been in this hard for me to manage place, a little gray zone, so that everyone knows about it. And we're on calls with Sunrise and Lauren Manis. And so everyone knows about it, but I haven't really asked. I've just sort of told them about it. Soon, I'm waiting for the Dear Colleague letter, and then I will send out an email to all the coalitions. And I think they'll be more in a position to look at a final bill and make a better decision. And I didn't even know till my conversation with Rania earlier this week that she was deputy campaign manager for Bernie. So that brings in that whole wing of the community, and the fact that Espaillat is a whip for the Progressive Caucus similarly brings in that whole wing of the Congress. Hopefully, we'll see. So all these ties are being created, but they're very interested in the Thrive Act, which is a whole different strategy based on sort of funding, really. And a lot of people are just trying to stay focused on the congressional push because no one's given up on that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's the answer. You know, it's a little bit of a wishy-washy answer. But really, you know, even Sunrise does not have ground games in 435 congressional districts. You all have that. This community has that. And so that's the community we're going to have to reach no matter what, no matter which national organizations sign on. I'm in their coalitions, and I know their capacity, and you are the capacity that will get people to change their minds. So I know I keep saying that, but it's very, very true. And so that's enough of that. Lisa.
Yeah, hi, Todd. I'd like to be a little clearer about the OFF Act, understanding that we're working on the Earth Bill, but also is Rania going to be on the team that helps rewrite it? Are you going to be helping to write it? I just quickly looked at what you had in the chat, and it looked to me as though those are more definitional. That document is more either definitional or what you want included, but it doesn't show the basic approach. Is it addressing the grid or?
Well, we're going to talk a lot about the off act going forward.
Yeah.
So we're not going to spend too much more time today on it.
Okay, all right.
We'll have separate meetings about this and we'll dig into it. But so I would suggest reading the bill, the original bill. It's linked at the top of that document. Read
Okay,
that, starting there, and that'll tell you a lot. But frankly, the transportation and electric provisions from the off act are what we put in the earth bill. So that approach is the same
Okay.
on purpose to build on the support that we had already created. And then similarly in the ag provision comes from, Cory Booker's Climate Stewardship Act. So we were intentionally putting blocks in place that were already had foundation underneath them. So you'll see that. And I think that approach will continue to be consistent. And what you're seeing in the definitions at the first glance there is, I think, proposals to expand the existing definitions.
okay, thank you. I just want to be able to tell people about it, but I guess it's not quite time.
Well, yes, it's basically idea collection time
Great,
for what's missing from the existing bill.
thank
That's
you.
the first step. Yeah, thank you for having interest in that. Okay, any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Kristen. Thank you, Kristen,
Just a
and
quick
everybody who
question,
showed up at Earth Day. We're going to talk about Earth Day in a little bit. Go ahead.
a quick question before I have to hop off. When you were talking about national groups, have you worked at all with Earth Justice?
Well, we've talked and Earth Justice has come and presented on various bills. So yes, we've had a lot of interaction with them, but when I tried to get them to give me feedback on the definition of plant and animal or corporations, I wasn't successful. So I don't, if you have contacts to them,
I
by all
do.
means,
Okay, all right. So I'll follow up. Okay, good. Thank you.
and feel free to reach out to every group that you know, no matter how new your relationship is. Don't, even if we're doing it, you cannot have too many asks on this front. It needs to come like a chorus. So don't ever hold back and wait for me or anyone else. Feel you are complete independent agents. This is your bill. You're going to be able to run with it however you see fit. That's what it's for. You ask anybody and everybody and whatever you want to do. Let's see. I think that's it on the co-sponsor stuff. Outreach. Community leaders. This is a very important piece. Please start reaching out to everyone you know individually. I'm doing it personally. I'm going to ask people from all sorts of walks of lives that I've known throughout my life. And that's the good thing about being older. We know a lot of people. And after the bill's filed, I'm going after my friends. I just met with a whole bunch of friends in Boston about something and they don't know it yet, but I'm going to put them on the hook. A lot of them are Republicans. And so I'm going to be calling individual friends and saying, I need your help in this district. Organize this district for me. People who can do this with their eyes closed and are semi-retired and have no reason not to. They're bored anyway, I can tell. So we got to give them something to do. So, and think outside the environmental arena, that's a really important piece of this. We're going to start to expand way beyond that. So that's that thought. Over 340 or 50 people have already taken the individual pledge, and that's just wonderful. And all of you are associated with many groups that have not signed on yet. So please keep working on that. I understand that it's a chicken and egg. The more real this gets, the easier that's going to be. So no problem in terms of the delay or timeline. And we have enough to go forward. So we're not like anxious about that. We're also going to focus on federal candidates. So as you're going out to your existing representatives, also go to the campaigns of whoever the challengers are. And this can be a chicken and egg thing. When sometimes you get a challenger to say yes, and that'll help you get your representative. That's happened a lot with the OFAC. That's how Ocasio-Cortez got Bill Crowley. We got Bill Crowley. So this is the time to use that moment of leverage that we have, but that the election cycle provides. So we'll be talking about this endlessly going forward. We're not going to delve into it today, but on the website, I've changed the official. If you're an elected official, it says if you're a federal candidate, and I've updated that form. I think that's the end of that. There was some other point I had on that, but I know. Even if you have Democrats and they sign on to the Earth Bill, please go after the Republican candidate as well, because and I'm going to get into this in more detail in a minute, but the Republican front is very important. And if we can say we've got 25 Republican candidates who've taken the Earth Bill pledge, that starts to build, the thing. And it's easier for a candidate to maybe break ranks. We'll see. They get blackballed and all their funding pulled and everything like that. The Republicans don't mess around when it comes to forced cohesion with the team. So that's the fight we're in, though. That's exactly it. So this is how you go about it. And we can peel a few away. That starts to make it seem possible and for others to join. And that's it. All of these things are on the all the forms and everything else are on the website. So the next thing I want to dive into is publicity. And when I say publicity, this is basically the name of the game going forward. It's everything we're going to do. So I don't need to share. I'll share this. What the heck? It's not really anything worth seeing. But you can see here our publicity machine. I gotta make that bigger. Anyway, the first two things I'd love you to do is to join our social media. So how do I get back to the screen, to the chat? Here it is. So here's one. Please just click and join. And here's the other, the Twitter. Oh, that just went to Lisa. Never mind. Hold on a second. Everybody in meeting. Here's Twitter. And that's the main one we're going to be using. And here's Instagram. So please click onto those and just join them. If you could, while we're on the phone, that would be fabulous. And then here's Rep AE. Here's his Twitter. So you want to follow that. That's where the first announcement that I saw came out, and I got it from Jose. We have a good social media team. Jose Mena, who's with a big firm that represents NBA stars, is helping with this. And as I mentioned before, oh goodness, I'm drawing a blank on his name. John Billion. How could I do this? I think it's Brady. How can I do that? Oh yeah. No, it's not. That's why I was convinced to get these two guys mixed up. Anyway, one of our team members has been in touch with the Don't Look Up producer and creator, Adam McKay, and they are poised and ready to send a tweet out about the Earth Bill. So that's excellent news. And we decided to hold it until the bill gets filed, so they can, echo that. And I think that makes the most sense. We still have the ability to send it out before, but I don't see any real reason or need to do that. So that's queued up, and that could not be more exciting. That's sort of going straight to the top, right? I'm surprised myself that materialized. And oh, I'm showing you my own email now. So that'll be exciting. And they're also in touch with Meryl Streep's team through the same support, so the same network. So hopefully she'll send out tweets and whatnot as well. And once we get that initial tweet, then we have this relationship established, and we'll see where we can take it from there. But if that really happens, and it seems very firm at this point, that'll be quite something, a great way to launch something, say the least. But back to that. Oh, that's what I was on. Our work together on this. We're going to start this out grassroots now, So here's a comment. I get on Facebook occasionally, try not to spend too much time there, and Facebook post. When I see an advertisement for, all these posts are there about all these events that are happening, and this farm group is having a conference, and this, there's a million events. You probably see them all the time if you're. And so what I do is I just go in the comment section and I do this, and I do it on my phone and I dictate it. Please help stop our climate pollution from. I just wrote and at www.earthbill.org, and it pops up, and there you go. You've put the Earth Bill on the radar of whomever's reading those, and their social media team, I'm sure, is following it, what gets posted. And so it's just a very simple way to spread the word that you can do effortlessly, really, when you're on there with friends, on your own posts, whatever. But I like using the comment section, so I don't burden my friends too much with everything. Another thing you can do is if you send me a short quote and a picture, I'll make you your own meme, just like we have some of the other memes. And I see a hand, so we'll get to the hand. And it's a cat. And then, so that'll be cute. You know, we'll post it on our Instagram, very short. Da 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 da. I support the Earth Bill. So a very short phrase, and I support the Earth Bill. Because I care about the children, I support the Earth Bill. Whatever you want to say, because it doesn't have room for a lot more, but whatever you want to say, I'll make it work. And that way you can have your own, and you can, once you have it, you can share it with your friends, etc. So feel free to do that. And then the big thing, the big effort is the 2022 Awareness Blitz, which will just be basically our state of being for the next several years. And after I finish that, I'll come back to questions. But the idea is to take this and canvas at the farmers markets and museums and botanical gardens, bake sales, the local high school production of Camelot, you know, anywhere and everywhere. And we have flyers, thanks to Terry Michaud, and posters as well. Those have QR codes that we can talk about another time. Some of them go to the website, others go to the organizational form, but on that form, even if somebody accidentally ends up at the organizational form, it says right there, you know, here's the individual form. So I've clarified the forms, which ones are for organizational, which ones for individual. So we want people to sign the individual form in your outreach with them. But it's basically awareness, and then ideally we collect their email, because then we're going to email them and say, we need your help going to contact your congressperson to sponsor it. So it all leads back to that. So feel free to make those, you know, do those and run with it all you want. And that's our main push now for marketing. And we're going to try to work on having more sophisticated professional marketing help along the way. So let's see here. There were some questions. Go ahead, Kathy.
Hi, thanks for the great update. I just have a pretty basic question about where you see environmental justice issues in both the bill and the messaging, because if it's not there really prominently and in a pointed, focused way, environmental justice groups don't feel like they're being represented or included. And right now, I mean, it's called the Earth Bill. It's, you know, a lot of what you've mentioned is great, but I think it's politically and just in terms of collaboration and partnerships, it's really important to have environmental justice messaging right at the top.
So, okay, a couple things on that real quick, and then I want to talk about the Republican front before 1 o'clock, and then we can come back to this conversation informally in our, the main answer to that is, well, in the bill itself, one of the first findings of fact relate to that. I can pull it up and share it with you real quick. And then as
you don't need to do it now, I'll go read it, the stuff, and I'm sure it's there, but just top line messaging is really important.
It's there. And then the other main point to make is that when you stop the pollution from fossil fuels, you stop the asthma from the cars, you stop the manufacturing pollution that is one of some of the BIPOC communities' frontline concerns. They're being poisoned in their own communities. So when you stop the fossil fuel pollution, you solve a great deal of the environmental justice issues, which are a lot about health, mostly about health for that matter, in a lot of ways, and the way their communities are polluted. So that's the most important message. And that from National Action Network, Derek has a quote on the press release that will go out when the bill's filed. And he says that basically, we're tackling environmental injustice by stopping the pollution at its source. So that's really the substantive message. The other environmental justice asks are related to that made it into the Earth Bill. I mean, I'm sorry, to the OFF Act, and will stay in the OFF Act, are really about setting up a committee that will review funding to the states for climate initiatives. and make sure that that funding is, distributed the right way, and more importantly, has input processes for frontline communities in terms of what's going to happen. So in other words, they're not just being excluded, and they're going to have a little bit of the power of the purse over decision making. And that is really where a lot of environmental justice and justice advocacy is about the injustice and how the federal government funds are spent and where it goes. So that is all part of that. And there's also, other initiatives that are pushing that kind of thing. So we could talk more about that going forward, but hopefully those are substantive and I think very important answers to that issue. And then in the talking points, you'll see we can add more and more to that. Here comes Nydia. All right. So I want everyone who did Earth Day things to have an opportunity to chime in and tell us about those as well. We'll end with that. Evan, I'd love to hear a recap if you want about Earth Day in a minute, but just 1 minute before we get to that, I want to talk about the Republican front. So where is it? I'm going to share my screen again. This is going to be the most important aspect of saving the planet, is going into the Republican resistance and convincing somehow or another. And I don't know how we're going to end up there, but I know what we're going to do to try. So Eric Arnhem, who's been with us since the Climate Mondays and the OFAC days in 2018, has put together a list of Republicans with the highest legal conservation voter ratings, and then Republican districts where there have been very large fires and flooding. There's about 26 of them. We don't have Texas on here, although we really feel that Texas qualifies sort of categorically because of the ice and the storm that took out their electric grid and those kinds of things. But for now, it's focused on these, I don't know how many it is right here: Alabama, California, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Michigan, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I added Texas, even though we don't have any Texas people listed here. So if you're in any of these districts, we'll be following up with you, but please reach out. If you want to work on a district on this specifically, on a sort of Republican team, think about that. Let me know. I'm not clear in my own mind yet how we're going to constitute that, because a lot of our adopted districts are in Republican districts. So it's not as if these are the only Republican districts we have in play. So that's wonderful. And I just think we're going to need, frankly, the game plan is the same. The approach you take are the same, but we're just going to treat it as if it's a little bit different because it feels different. And as you see on the spreadsheet, we'll have adopted district lead, emails, we'll have their campaign manager, we'll have their lead fundraisers, major donors, key endorsement organizations, the local Republican clubs, youth in the communities, any media and comments they've made about environmental things. So this is going to be a deep, deep, deep dive, and we're not going to play around. We're going to find the people who can help these people see the light and come around. So that's that on, there's not much more to say about it at this point, except that's where we're going. So I just, any curiosity, feel free to put in the chat. Are any of you like passionate about this front or want to work on it? I'm curious to know if there's any existing energy around that. He says, and I know you all have deep inside information. So there's one not running, great. Oh, and then before we go into our own Earth Day recaps and chit chat, I just want to share one more thing. The Climate Action Campaign, which is the main coalition, I shouldn't say the main, one of the largest, most powerful, all the major big green groups are in it, coalition. They're in others sometimes too, but this is their main thing. They're focused on a push right now for the $550 billion in Congress push in climate funding. So these are the targets. And if you have any interest or contacts in these arenas, this shows you the inside scoop, who's working on it, the contact information, the lead office. These folks are doing the right thing. If you have any contacts in any of those areas, or if you're involved in that and you would like to help with that effort, please let me know. And with that, 1:03, we ended on sort of time, and we'll stop the formal meeting, and we'll just go into questions and answers and anything you all want to cover. And I just want to end the official meeting by saying thank you again. It has been a Herculean journey just to this point. All the people that worked on the committees that helped us land on the Earth Bill, they worked for months. We had lots of consultation. Peter Serginko has a beautiful quote in the press release about the process that we went through that was open and inclusive and transparent. To me, these are fundamental things about how you build a real movement as opposed to an inside strategy, a real movement where you have ownership and participation and transparency. And these are not just nice ideas. To me, these are like fundamental building blocks. Otherwise, you're just doing what you can do as opposed to what the collective can do. So that's where we're headed now. And once we have this bill filed, the game plan is there, and the path forward is there. And almost if I completely disappear tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but after the bill's filed, it's all ready. And I think the path forward is very clear, and almost anyone can pick it up and run with it. And hopefully everyone will. So thank you again. And that concludes our formal meeting.